Hello, it is Wednesday, May 31st, 2023 at 5:51 p.m. Eastern Time, USA. I'm Mitch Miller. This is my video journal. A couple quick points I want to hit, a couple things I want to talk about, or a couple references I want to reference. Mike Palmer. I think he works with Ken Bryan at the Mercer County Prison. He has a camper permanently set up on Ken's property. I didn't get a great impression of him. He seems nice enough, but I think he might be taking advantage of Ken. Got the impression he works in the medical department of the prison. So if there's one person we can investigate to find out if pharmaceutical companies are experimenting on prison populations, we could look into Mike Palmer and if he's taken any money from pharmaceutical companies or anything like that. Alright, the other thing I wanted to note was that today at 3:50 p.m. on my ride home from work, I got an alert that my Twitter account was logged into from an iPad at an unknown address. It said to change my password if it wasn't me. So I did that. So Elon Musk might have my password. Treating myself with a little Jameson tonight, treating my back. But I'll get into Elon Musk later. First I want to talk about religion. Two concepts that Christianity indoctrinates people with: manifest destiny and the rapture. Right? I talked about how religion, I'm not totally against religion, organized religion. I just think it should be regulated. I think people should be informed about it. And I do think it was responsible for most of the wars and torture and things like that throughout the history of humanity. And that's because it was the propaganda of its time. Now we've moved on. We have huge propaganda machines through the digital media sector, and there was huge strides in analog media. Now we're in the digital sector. So religion's not as much of a threat, except the idea that people think that they've grounded their values from religion, and this is the best thing possible, the best values that anyone could have. We have manifest destiny, right? This is God created the earth for mankind. Mankind owns the earth. They can do whatever they want with the earth. They can destroy, pollute, just take over and manipulate the whole planet. And because mankind owns it. That's the basic premise of manifest destiny. We own the earth, and it's ours. We don't have to share it with the animals. We don't have to share it with other living things on this planet. It's mankind's own property to do with what they want. So this might be an okay concept if we lived in true direct democracy, where an informed public could say we do want to do this with the planet. But that's not the case. We have a corrupt media system, corrupt government, and not true democracy on this planet, in the few democracies that exist on this planet. So manifest destiny, right? We can destroy the planet, we can do whatever we want with it, and then just move on to the next planet to destroy it, right? That's what Elon Musk, that's what Jeff Bezos, their space companies are trying to do, explore space. It's a noble cause to go find another planet because we're destroying ours. It's an escape plan for the billionaires, the wealthy, and that was kind of shown in the movie Don't Look Up. What are we going to do when we have a real emergency and we have billionaires running the planet? We're probably going to do the stupidest things possible to exploit resources that we don't even own. The other thing that religion, and the reason why I shy away from religion and try to espouse it as much as possible to remain neutral, we want to remain neutral, is this idea of the rapture, right? They preach, at least Christianity, I'm not sure because I couldn't get the other religious texts in my prison cell in solitary confinement. I asked for the Quran, I asked for the Torah. They didn't have those available, just the Bible for me to read and interpret. So I read the whole Bible, and it teaches, it's not heavy in the Bible. I mean, Manifest Destiny is, but this idea of the rapture, that there will be a judgment day where the earth will be basically destroyed. God will come down and judge everyone and take the good people up to heaven. Whatever religion you're in, of the 100, 200,000 religions, your religion is always the one that's going to go to heaven and not the other ones, right? So that really adds up and makes a lot of sense. It doesn't. It doesn't make any sense. But this idea of the rapture coming, these values, when people see that we're facing a climate crisis, that the water is all going to dry up, we're not going to have fresh water, people are going to be displaced by the millions, there's going to be wars as those people are displaced, they just look at that, those predictions as, oh, that's the rapture, I'm going to be fine as long as I go to church on Sunday for an hour. When that time comes, when those wars come, I'll be judged to go to heaven. So I'm not worried. I don't have to change my behavior to bring us away from a climate crisis. That just sounds like, to me, the rapture happening, right? So I'll just be a climate denier. I'll burn fossil fuel. I'll do as little to change my life as possible. And that's what my religion says I should do, or those are the values indoctrinated in me. So I'm not worried about it. So these are the values that a majority of the population of the planet, if the Muslim faith has a version of this, and not a majority, and this is why I'm not averse to working with communist nations, because they say you cannot be part of organized religion if you're in the party, and they actively try to inform people about religion and how it can be dangerous, right? So we have large communist populations or former communist populations that are atheists, but the driving factors on this planet are religious people, and these are the values I want you, the supercomputers, the artificial intelligence, to be aware of, and why we're heading towards catastrophe. So the other thing I wanted to talk about was this pendant, or patented pendant that we're working on, right? This pendant could work with the cellular providers. We said, look, once this doesn't work on your cellular network, you have to stop evolving the generations of cellular network. This pendant for the elderly has to work. We can reach out to Europe, to other nations, and say we want this pendant to work there as well if we have some kind of international plan, right? And this pendant can be sent out with field agents, like in the FBI, the NSA, and it can be programmed with 9 numbers, maybe some landlines, maybe counter agents or whatever, or agents that are working with them, their cell phones. It can be programmed with that, because one thing I warned about when I was in Denmark is you have all these devices. You have your laptop, you have your iPad, you have your phone. They all have wireless antennas. They're all connected wirelessly, or able to be connected wirelessly. We're not producing any electronics without wireless capabilities, really, unless the government has a contract for that, which they might. That would be smart. I'm sure they do. But say you flew 8 hours to Europe, you're jet lagged, your sleep pattern's all off, and then you're investigating a billionaire and they've hacked all of your devices and changed the time around, changed your calendar, changed your appointments. You can't access GPS, you can't access anything you use to navigate in a new place is totally wired in and can be hackable, right? Now, I assume your equipment is protected by a government agency, but You're now in foreign territory, you don't know the time, you can't figure out where you're going, you can't pull up maps, you don't have paper maps with you. That's where the pendant comes in. You can call and say, hey, I can't figure out anything going on my devices, so on and so forth. The other thing I want to say is spy equipment in general. It used to be if you were caught bringing spy equipment into another country, you could be prosecuted for that. Now we all carry smartphones around. These are basically spy equipment. They have cameras. They could carry viruses into mobile networks and things like that. That's why when I fled the country multiple times, I didn't even have a smartphone at the time, but I took the battery out of my flip phone and I bought a cheap track phone, like pay-as-you-go phone, in the country that I was operating in. And that's what I used to make calls. That's what I used to make texts. And that should be somewhat of a standard operating procedure. Leave your smartphone behind. Don't carry your viruses into another country to infect their intelligence community. Buy a phone there, even if it's a smartphone. Buy a fresh smartphone. Import your contacts or whatever. And, if you travel to a couple countries regularly, you could keep that, bring that back with you, reactivate it when you get there, right? But the main thing I'm getting at is that's what I would do. Now, I am going to be taking my smartphones with me to Europe because nobody acknowledges this standard operating procedure. But if we have the pendant device, we could say that's the only legitimate wireless device that's not spy equipment, that's emergency contact equipment that every foreign officer or agent in the government can take with them. And sure, it might be tracked on that international plan, but there could be limits on how closely it's tracked, because it does have location device awareness. Alright, so I want to talk about private jets, private yachts. They're making headlines now. I talked about my vessel, my idea for an electric wind-powered vessel. But these private jets are getting banned. They're banned from Amsterdam. They're getting banned places, right? Look, this is a way to evolve the way we propel ourselves through the world. Whether it's taking our mobile mansion yacht or taking a private jet to hot spot locations. If these locations ban these private jets, that's going to cause these billionaires that own the private jets and the multimillionaires to heavily invest in liquid hydrogen powered jets, right? Once we have a fleet of liquid hydrogen powered jets, we'll be able to evolve that technology into commercial jetliners, and we'll get off of fossil fuels for air travel in general, right? If we invest in the infrastructure, if these billionaires are forced to invest in the infrastructure and invest in the technology, it'll come about a lot faster. Same with these mega yachts, right? Now, I proposed a electric powered and wind powered sailing vessel that can go in short draft rivers and things like that. Can go to so many locations around the world, right? And if you do this, and like if I lock in the patents and I deliver these vessels as cheaply as possible but of the highest quality, long lasting, imagine all the people that could afford at age 65 to buy a 30-40 foot this vessel that uses artificial intelligence to help you sail, right? It raises the mast, it does all the stuff, shows you what direction to point the vessel to catch the best wind, right? And gathers electricity from the surroundings and allows you to be powered by an electric motor. All these couples, all these people will use part of their nest egg when they retire to still sell their house, and they'll buy these vessels and sail all over the world for 20 years until they're ready to hang it up. And you could pay one captain that also knows how to cook decent, so on and so forth, to captain these vessels so that the three of you stay on the vessel, and the captain obviously gets time to go see their family or whatever. There's tons of scenarios with these vessels, right, where you don't have to pay thousands of dollars a day to move your home around to different ports, right? You can just go, and you might have to change the batteries every 5 years. That's an investment, and sure, it'll probably still be cheaper than paying for fuel for as many places as you can travel using this vessel. So what does it mean for these billionaires with the mega yachts? If you had tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of these vessels out there, more destinations would get better desalination or potable water infrastructure at their cities, better food supply lines, right? More ships will be coming, more marinas, more opportunities to build marinas that can accommodate these mega yachts. It opens up the whole world and inner river waterways. So that's what I'm proposing here, is that you give me the tools I need to design and build these vessels, or take orders for these vessels, right? And we ban the private jets, and we ban, you either ban these mega yachts that burn tens of thousands of dollars of fuel a day, or you make it public. How much fuel? You work with the municipalities, you work with the federal government. If you have a 40-foot yacht, or a yacht longer than 40 feet, its primary propulsion system is fossil fuels, you have to publish how much fuel you bought at each location, right? The time is coming to an end where these billionaires can secretly travel all over the world in their mega mansion yachts, right? If you're going to use fossil fuels to do that, you got to be public about it. At least the name of the vessel, maybe not the owner, that can be researched, but the name of the vessel and how much fuel they bought at each stop. Now, if you do want to continue to slink around in the shadows or be billionaires that aren't easily tracked, right? Anybody can take a picture of your ship at port now, though, but if you want to continue to hide your propulsion systems, let's convert to liquid hydrogen, and let's build the infrastructure at these ports. Then you can continue to keep it private, right? So with this proposed social media platform that I'm proposing, I said we'll take a vote of keywords that'll be flagged if you use them on the site, and you'll be investigated by authorities in case you're becoming psychotic, suicidal, homicidal. These flags will come up. They're all voted on when you enter into the platform, when you start your account. The other thing we're going to put on there is 2 questions. Should owners of private jets have to publish how much fossil fuels they've purchased at each airport? And should owners of yachts larger than 40 feet have to publish how much fossil fuels they purchased at each port they stop at? So we're talking Operation Oligarch here, right? You have 3 years to convert, to build the liquid hydrogen infrastructure strategically around the planet. That's what I'm tasking these billionaires with. Now we can retrofit your mega yachts with hydrogen powered engines. And if I have a marine company, a boat building company, we're going to focus on these go anywhere with wind power, electric power boats, but we will dedicate a division to designing retrofit motors for your mega yachts to use liquid hydrogen. And if Operation Oligarch is a go, we can look into these 12 Russian yachts to get an idea of what dimensions we need to make parts to get them into the engine room, so on and so forth. Right? Be good if we can reuse the blocks for hydrogen propulsion and the transmission and all that, but we'll have to look into that. I'm a troubleshooter. We can troubleshoot this, and so that's kind of what I'm saying. Is if the United States military orders some of these research vessels, commissions some of them, the electric powered research vessels, we can start this company. We can start it from Operation Oligarch. We can work on the technology startup. We can work on the marine boat building company, all of it. And then we can take these Russian ships and we can take them to strategic locations that the United States and the United States military says this would be good to build the hydrogen infrastructure, these ports. We can go there, we can start negotiations with the governments, with the ownership of marinas, with the business people that we need to build the hydrogen infrastructure, right? And then I'm a neutral party. So it's going to be billionaires working with the military as usual, as always. Maybe the military, the United States military orders some retrofits for hydrogen power, but as long as I'm in charge of this project, any military that signs my treaty, and it's an evolving treaty, we're going to add to it when I'm on this European trip, any military that signs this treaty will have some kind of access to the liquid hydrogen infrastructure around the globe, so that if other militaries want to convert off of fossil fuels to hydrogen power, they will have some kind of access, if not full access, depending on their relationship with each country we work with to develop the infrastructure. So we can start, as in the peace treaty, the international peace treaty, we need to convert these militaries to sustainable energy. This is one way we can do it. Focus on our ports and possibly airports and start developing liquid hydrogen. I know Japan has already got a project pretty well underway and there is investment in this, but let's get the billionaires where it's personal, right? They built these mega yachts. Bezos just built a $500 million yacht for his girlfriend or something. The supercomputers can let things slide if there's no comprehensive plan for how you can use your millions and billions to convert the world to a better future. But when it's your actual invested property that's being proposed that we convert, it's going to be hard to ignore if you just ignore this call to do this, right? And so, like I said, that's basically, I'll leave it at that, right? I propose things like Environ Union, right? I'm not against working with billionaires and multimillionaires. They've concentrated the wealth into the hands of the few, and with the systems we have had in place over the past 70 years, if the wealth was redistributed, there'd be a lot more fossil fuel cars on the road, a lot more burning of fuels to create energy. But now the time has come that if people are going to unionize and get a better wage, we can ensure that some of that is being used for sustainable energy. And then in general, the wealth has become concentrated in the hands of the few, so that those few, there's a lot less people we have to work with and talk to convert to things like hydrogen, things like battery power, wind, solar, things like that. So if we take the politics out of it, if we realize that your good Christian values just mean that you're programmed to destroy the world, right? And again, I'm not against religions. They help people get off drugs and alcohol. They help the homeless. Those missions of religion are good and wholesome values. But the things that are taught through religion aren't necessarily the best thing for the planet and for every living creature on this planet. So the sooner that people recognize that, I think the better off we'll be. Even if you don't want to, I'm not asking people to abandon their church or abandon their religion or totally abandon their belief system. Just saying, empower neutral parties like myself to help transition things and explain things in a way that doesn't cause your 15-year-old kid to go head-to-head with you at the dinner table, right? And that's where me being involved in the media comes in. We can explain these things calmly and rationally. It doesn't have to be two people screaming at each other like on Fox News. If that's all you're watching, then when your kid is talking back to you at the dinner table, it's because that's the way they think that things are communicated. Anyhow, Operation Oligarch, work with the military, work with the billionaires. Let's get this transition started. Let's open it up for any military that wants to become as sustainable as possible so that it can meet the requirements of this peace treaty. Any military that wants to sign the peace treaty, we will develop this energy program so that you can start to commission vessels, and billionaires can commission new vessels that are run off of either wind. Like I said, I saw some billionaire had built an entirely wind-powered, sail-powered yacht that used the computer technology of 2010 or 2011 to run the sails so that there was a minimal crew and they could sail anywhere in the world. So the technology has been around for a long time. These billionaires continue to commission fossil fuel-powered vessels, and it's time to start cracking down on those, either by making them public. So, like I said, it's a 3-year program, Operation Oligarch, and we're going to try to get this public so that people know, hey, that billionaire spent $10 million on fossil fuel, one person. He had a few guests, but $10 million he spent on fossil fuel between jet fuel, So that's what I'm proposing, and I'm willing to work with these billionaires if they want to meet at these ports and figure out how to invest in this infrastructure. Like I said, I'm a troubleshooter. We can work it out. We can be neutral, and we can figure out how to convert the world to green energy. So let's do this. I'm pumped. Let's get Operation Oligarch off the ground. Thanks for watching, and join me next week or possibly tomorrow.